You know, Ernie, there are some women that that love you for yourself, but that doesn't last long. Good evening, everyone. This is Stone Gasman live from New York City, and tonight we are going to be doing an audio commentary, another 50th anniversary audio commentary. This time for John Huston's Fat City, starring Stacy Keach, Jeff Bridges, and Susan Tyrell. And there's a lot needs to be said about this movie because it was very much a critical success in 1972. It was kind of a rebound for the legendary director John Huston after a series of films that didn't really make a lot of money and that weren't very successful. But in 1972, he had Fat City, which had raised his stock a bit more than it had been in recent years, and he managed to get some good actors to tell this kind of downtrodden boxer story that I wasn't expecting to be as sensitive and moving that I thought it was going to be, and it turned out to be quite a surprise. And so we're gonna check out Fat City tonight. So I welcome you all to the commentary. I am paused at the Columbia Pictures logo for Fat City to give everybody maybe just one more minute and everything. After we finish our commentary for Fat City tonight, we are going to be doing on the same stream a commentary for the 1972 Kung Fu classic King Boxer, aka Five Fingers of Death, which was distributed by Warner Brothers and is notable because it came out literally right before Enter the Dragon and caused the basically created the kung fu craze of the 1970s. I wanted to find because Fat City is only 97 minutes long. I mean, it's literally a get in and get out movie. I wanted to see if there were any other boxing movies for 1972, and lo and behold, I found a 1972 film called King Boxer from the Shaw Brothers studio and distributed by Warner Brothers in 1972. So decided to throw them together and make them a double feature. So at any rate, I think we will go ahead and get started here. I mean, anybody that's out in the chat, please say hello. But we'll go ahead and get started on John Huston's Fat City. Pause at the Columbia Pictures logo, and we'll start on 3, 2, 1, and play. And I just remembered I need to lower the volume. So I always, every other commentary, I always forget to put down the audio on my my TV here. Okay. So yeah, this is set in Stockton, California, based on a novel. And I always knew that this movie existed in terms of its title, and I thought I had seen a portion of it on Turner Classic Movies one day a while back, but actually, up until I got this Blu-ray from Indicator Powerhouse, which came out just a couple years ago, I had never seen Fat City in full until now. It was actually just today when I saw the movie for the first time, and was actually surprised at how good it was. Yet it's also tainted by some very unfortunate events which happened during the production, which we will definitely talk about and get into. But here we are opening on Stacy Keach in his underwear in Stockton, California, somewhat probably in some cheap apartment somewhere. I mean, you can see he's got a bottle of what looks like whiskey or something. A big bottle of alcohol there on the table, and he's roaming around looking for something to light his cigarette with. Yeah, don't you know that feeling? Anything in the pants? No. Yeah, so this is actor Stacy Keach. who the first time I discovered Stacy Keach as an actor was actually in the 1998 film American History X, where he played the leader of a young group of Nazi kids, basically extreme racists who like commit murders of people of color and everything. Pretty much a Nazi neo-Nazi group. And he has a lot, several chilling scenes in that movie with Edward Norton and Edward Furlong. Really great movie from the 90s, but it's also very hard to watch. But that was my introduction to Stacy Keach, to be perfectly honest, even though he has quite the resume, which we will, of course, go through here pretty soon. But when I knew this film existed as just Fat City, I had no idea that it was about a boxer. But a John Huston, Ray Stark production. Yeah, we talked about Ray Stark a lot during the commentary that I had done earlier in the year for The Goodbye Girl, directed by Herbert Ross, which is one of my absolute favorite romantic comedies and one of my favorite movies of the '70s, actually. Jeff Bridges. Yes, a super young Jeff Bridges. This was not his first film. This was not his first rodeo. He had been in a couple of films before this, including actually, technically, he made his film debut in 1951 as a baby in like a B picture. Technically, that is his first film, but his first film as a young adult was actually a high school drama called Halls of Anger in 1970, which isn't that great, although it gave a good showcase to a number of African American actors who otherwise struggled to get roles in main studio efforts. But oh yeah, see, the Halls of Anger, starring Calvin Lockhart and Janet McLaughlin from United Artists in 1970. Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed with that movie because I mean, it was basically about how the high schools were um, um, uh, brought back together in terms of blacks and whites in the same school post segregation, and so it was kind of a reflection of that at the time. Screenplay by Leonard Gardner, based on the novel Fat City by Leonard Gardner. And of course, we're hearing a song by the great singer Chris Christopherson, who is still with us at 81 years old, by the way. Great rock singer that, of course, knew Janis Joplin. And he had done other movies like Martin Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore right after this. Actually, right before this, he had done a movie called Cisco Pike, which I was going to do a commentary on earlier this year until I realized a little too late that the Blu-ray wasn't able to play in my player. I thought it could play a Region B locked Blu-ray, and apparently it couldn't. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to get around that if I'm going to do an audio commentary for that. But that explains why I didn't do one for Cisco Pike. But I really like Chris Christopherson. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that with him, the first movie I discovered Chris Christopherson in was actually this 1989 film, which more people need to check out, called Millennium. A very underrated sci-fi film with Cheryl Ladd and Chris Christopherson. That's I mean, based on a really cool story as well. But yeah, here we have Stacy Keach, and I was going over his filmography earlier, thinking, okay, what else have I seen him in besides American History X? As well as what's the other big film that I know him from? Oh yeah, Up in Smoke. He played Sergeant Studenko, who was determined to nab Cheech and Chong all throughout the movie, who are literally driving a van of weed over the border. But he was great in that. right before this movie, Fat City, he had only made 6 films. His very first film, believe it or not, was a 1968 adaptation of The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, which I have not only watched, but I've also read the book by Carson McCullers. Now, he plays the character of Blount, although to be perfectly honest, I barely remember his role in that film. Actually, Alan Arkin is who I remember more than Stacy Keach. But yeah, it's based on a Carson McCullers novel about a man who is deaf and how he is treated by people in the small town. It's actually the first movie that Sandra Locke was in. Like I said, I've actually read the book and seen that movie, and they're both great. Alan Arkin, especially, is really, really good, especially after his turn as the drug dealing psychopath in what is it? Wait Until Dark, or no, I'm sorry, drug smuggling psychopath, and Wait Until Dark, and then to see him in Heart is a Lonely Hunter in this very, very general role, it's a striking contrast between his two performances there. But yeah, that was Stacy Keach's first movie, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Highly recommended. After that, he was in Robert Altman's Brewster McCloud, as well as, the movie that John Huston had seen him in prior to this was a movie called The Traveling Executioner in 1970, where he plays a former carnival showman who travels around the South in 1918 with his portable electric chair, going from prison to prison with his young assistant Jimmy, charging $100 per execution. And Jimmy is played by Bud Cort from Harold and Maude. Yes, this is a real movie. 2 of Jonas's potential victims are siblings Willie and Gundred Herzalabitz. While he successfully executes Willie, he fails for Gundred, hoping to fake her execution. He does, but then things turn dark for him. Now, admittedly, I never saw that movie. I just heard about it for the first time when I was going through the extra features on the Blu-ray. But I think I ought to check that out now. It's called The Traveling Executioner. Because, look, after watching Fat City for the first time today, I said to myself, you know what? Oh, man, I got to check out more of Stacy Keach's work. I mean, this guy, there's something about him that I find, fascinating, and, in a couple ways I can identify with him. But in this film, which is really, like I said, it's a movie about boxers on the low rent of the scale. They compete in these rundown gymnasiums, and they drink in the neighborhood holes afterward, basically sleep around with whoever is available and whoever's willing. It's just this is the life for them. Oh yeah, here we have Susan Tyrell, just came on screen right here. This film, she actually got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, but she had lost the award to, in fact, the actress from Butterflies Are Free, which I did an audio commentary on only a couple months ago. That's a movie with Goldie Hawn, where basically a blind man falls in love with his hippie neighbor, played by Goldie Hawn. And Eileen Heckart is her name. She won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress that year. But Susan Tyrell here from Fat City was nominated. And actually, just to double check, because I'm actually interested now, since we've covered both of them, who were the other nominees? Just want to double check, because I'm now super curious. Okay, so aside from Eileen Heckart, who won, and Susan Tyrell, who was nominated here for Fat City, Shelley Winters was also nominated for The Poseidon Adventure. She might have been the sentimental favorite. I mean, I may be wrong on that, but it sounds like, I mean, I don't know. I really like Shelley Winters. I'm just not a big fan of The Poseidon Adventure. The other 2 nominees were Geraldine Page for Pete and Tilly, directed by Martin Ritt, and also Jenny Berlin for The Heartbreak Kid, directed by Elaine May. Oh. Oh, and Jenny Berlin was later in Inherent Vice, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Oh, that's pretty cool. So yeah. Now, Susan Tyrell, she's no longer with us. She passed away at the age of 67 in 2012. She started her career in the New York City theater in the 60s and Broadway and off-Broadway productions. Her first film right before this was a movie called Shootout, directed by Henry Hathaway and starring Gregory Peck. I've not seen that, obviously. And she also received the Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actress for her performance in Andy Warhol's Bad, which evidently was the high point of her career. Well, here again, I mean, we're going to be talking about how sadly her career was derailed a little bit because of circumstances that happened during the production of this film. But I don't want to talk about it just yet. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, we should very much enjoy what Susan Tyrell brings here to the table in this role of a woman suffering from severe alcoholism. And her boyfriend here is actually played by a very real boxer. I was going to bring him up just real quick here. Yes, Curtis Cokes. Curtis Cokes, born in 1937 and passed away in 2020. He was a boxer from Dallas, Texas, and was the simultaneous WBA, WBC, and the Ring World Welterweight Champion, and was famous for his training regimen, which he also imposed on other boxers training with him. And yeah, so and we'll see him. He will come back. But this was pretty much made at the time when he was pretty much ready to retire from the sport, because what happened is that he won 3 fights in a row. Excuse me. In 1958, he boxed professionally, would later fight for the world title in a 6-round decision. He won 11 fights in a row, including a second match with Gonzalez before losing to him in the third fight on April 27th, 1959. Manuel Gonzalez. He and Randall had an immediate rematch on an August 27th. He knocked out Garland Randall in the first round. Yeah, this guy is the real deal. I mean, now, and in 1972, when he appeared in Fat City, he basically retired pretty much right afterward. I mean, he had a record of 62 wins, 14 losses, and 4 draws, with 30 wins by knockout. And there's a number of real life boxers in this film, which here again, I think this adds to this film's standing as one of the best boxing films out there, although it doesn't seem to be brought up in the conversation near as much as, say Rocky or Raging Bull, which seem to be the kings of the boxing genre, and for very understandable and at least in the case of Rocky, I think very good reasons. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I am not the biggest fan of the boxing genre. That does not mean that I do avoid boxing movies, and that certainly doesn't mean that I can't enjoy movies that center around the world of boxing. It's just not something I would voluntarily catch at like a live event or watch on pay-per-view. What's funny is that in the commentary on this movie on the Blu-ray, one thing that is discussed is the how the popularity of boxing has changed over the years. It hasn't necessarily decreased, because I keep thinking of, like, say, an I Love Lucy, when Ricky Ricardo and, Fred Mertz, wanted to watch the fight that night, and, they would make sure that their wives are away, playing cards or something, so they could just watch the fight. And I remember, like, back in the 30s and the 40s and 50s, I mean, watching a lot of stuff from those eras where, people were so obsessed about watching fights. Well, it's kind of different now. I mean, we have on the pay-per-view, we have all the, the martial arts and the full body boxing. Here again, I'm not an expert. Admittedly, I'm not an expert on boxing. MMA stuff. That's what I meant to mention. Yeah, the MMA stuff, which is pretty much almost taking over as the most popular form of that kind of fighting style. I don't know for sure. I'm only guessing. But look, I know MMA was huge when I was in the military. That was like a huge, huge thing. I mean, I don't remember people watching boxing. I remember people watching a lot of MMA and a lot of wrestling, but less so. But they were still very, very popular in terms of being watched on a regular basis, at least when I was growing up. But I never really got into it. I mean, now I can respect something like wrestling as a show, uh, you know, and boxing. Okay. Let's talk about the boxing genre for a little bit and where Fat City should be placed within it, because you know everybody wants to point to Raging Bull. I have read the book that Raging Bull is based on. It did not really change my opinion on Jake LaMotta in any way after seeing the movie. The big thing I have with Raging Bull is that Jake LaMotta is an asshole. I do not feel for him at any point in the movie. In fact, I find it very repetitive in terms of his incessant swearing, his spousal abuse. I find it all very exhausting, despite the fact that Martin Scorsese shoots the hell out of the boxing sequences. I find them very, very repetitive, and I feel like that I'm being punched down to oblivion. And I don't necessarily appreciate that. And look, Jake LaMotta is just not, to me, a very, very compelling character, even though a lot of film historians would like to argue otherwise. That is just me personally. I much prefer the underdog themes that are exhibited in John G. Avildsen's Rocky, which is one of Stallone's best performances. I have the entire Rocky franchise on Blu-ray, so it's not like I banned boxing movies from my from my collection here. Okay, I do like the Rocky movies, and even earlier today on Twitter, I even tweeted two of the best boxing movies ever made, which would be a perfect double feature on their own, which would be Body and Soul from 1947 and The Setup from 1949. Both great, great boxing movies. And I mean, like I said, if I was actually going to do a top 11 list of boxing movies, those would certainly be in the top 5. Fat City would probably fall somewhere around 4, 5, or 6. And Raging Bull might be about 8 or 9. Okay. I mean, that's just the truth. And Rocky may be number 1. I mean, Rocky is irresistible, I think. And like I said, to me, with that powerful ending when he ultimately does lose the fight against Carl Weathers, and Talia Shire comes in, and there's that famous moment. I always used to think that wow, it wasn't really about the match, it was about the girl. And that's what I really loved about that movie and that ending. I mean, it's a very sweet movie, and here again, I think that it almost deserves the title of the greatest boxing movie ever made, just because of how absolutely crowd pleasing it is. Raging Bull is of a much different breed. I think it's a movie more for masochists. And, here again, I get the spectacle of the whole thing. The black and white photography is great. Thelma Shoemaker's editing is great. Robert De Niro, even though I think it's a little too easy for a lot of actors to gain weight and then lose the weight, Christian Bale has shown, like in movies like was it The Mechanic, I believe, where he lose an insane amount of weight. Robert De Niro is one of the greatest actors who's ever lived, and I would have given him an Oscar for another movie, to be perfectly honest, just because I find Jake LaMotta so unbearable as a lead character in a movie. And I don't, and as great as some of the other actors are, I just don't like their characters any better. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. I can't, I don't like the repetitive dialogue, and I don't like the repetitive themes, which you feel like you're in that ring and you're being circled around and everything. It just, here again, I can't appreciate Raging Bull the way other people seem to. But look, I like the Rocky films. I mean, the first Rocky and Rocky Balboa are my favorites, and I actually I don't dislike any of the Rocky movies, which is actually somewhat shocking considering my revelation earlier that I don't care for the boxing subgenre of sports films. But I would say Fat City should definitely be considered, if only for the fact that it's based on. I did not read the book prior to this commentary. I actually decided, because I felt like I was taking a risk, getting this Blu-ray and everything and doing this commentary. I thought to myself, okay, John Huston, Stacy Keach, Jeff Bridges. Oh, I got to check this out. And of course, it got some of the highest critical reviews of the year. Some people thought it was the best film, one of the best films of 1972. It was pretty much ignored by the Academy Awards, aside from uh, who I brought earlier for brought up Susan Tyrell for Best Supporting Actress. But it didn't make a lot of money, and even though it was kind of a rebound for John Huston's career, it, here again, he didn't do much after this. And what he did do after this, you could say he goes even more into depressing circles with movies like Under the Volcano, with Albert Finney, which is a real depressing look at a guy at the end of his life. Just an alcoholic burned out in Mexico and everything. Just somebody that's so brought down really at the end of his life, and we know that he's going to be dead at the end of the movie. Those are the most depressing movies out there, and Under the Volcano is one of them. Now, he also directed Prizzy's Honor in 1985 with Jack Nicholson and Kathleen Turner, which is very fondly remembered. And his final film was in 1987 with The Dead, starring his own daughter, Angelica Houston. But with John Huston, his masterpieces seem to be three films, all starring Humphrey Bogart: The Maltese Falcon, The Treasure of Sierra Madre, and The African Queen. And all three are rightfully called and labeled and constantly written about as masterpieces of cinema, and they are all essential, and they should all be in your library. African Queen, I think, maybe my personal favorite of the bunch. The relationship between Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart in that is just pure cinematic gold. But Treasures Sierra Madre with the themes of greed and the human condition, and Walter Huston, John's father, actually winning Best Supporting Actor for that in an amazing role. Maltese Falcon is a classic, and rightfully so. I do prefer The Big Sleep, though, which actually was directed by Howard Hawks and not John Huston. But I mean, when I think of like Humphrey Bogart as a detective, I think of him in The Big Sleep. not the Maltese Falcon. But here again, the Maltese Falcon is still an absolute classic. Outside of those three films, that's where you get into really tricky territory when it comes to John Huston. Because, okay, he did a movie with Humphrey Bogart in 1942 called Across the Pacific. When he was drafted into the military at that point, he whatever he had intended to do with Across the Pacific, everything got compromised. I remember when I saw that, I thought to myself, you know what? Despite the star power, it's disappointing. That's not one of his best. But he also has Key Largo, which had, of course, Humphrey Bogart and his on-screen wife, Lauren Bacall, in the last film that they did together, although Lauren Bacall was with him every step of the way during the production of The African Queen when they filmed down in the Belgian Congo. But I'm going to confess right now, despite the fact that, those classics, Fat City is a rock-solid film in his resume. Absolutely, without a doubt. Now, before I talk about my favorite John Huston real quick, I have to mention this particular scene. After I read the IMDb trivia, I was blown away by one significant fact. When Muhammad Ali saw this film, when Muhammad Ali watched Fat City, he was so moved and blown away by the film. He told John Huston afterwards, you know what? That is me right there talking up on screen. And I would suspect that this scene in particular is what overwhelmed Muhammad Ali in terms of nailing the world of boxing, the milieu, everything about the sport and everything. I mean, when your movie wins over the greatest, I think you nailed something here. Okay, so look, John Huston. We have to remember also that John Huston was actually a boxer before he became a filmmaker. Okay, he actually had boxing experience, and so he was actually drawing upon those memories and putting them in this film. From somebody who actually came from that world, and now he's making a film devoted to showcasing that world as realistically as possible. And I do think that he achieved that with this film. And here we have Jeff Bridges jumping into the ring here. So who is the dude going to face off with today, huh? Who is the dude going to face off with? Oh, who could that guy be? Well, if you think he's another famous boxer, you'd probably be right. Like I said, there's a number of real-life boxers and referees in this movie that, here again, adds to that authenticity. Now, one of the other things I learned from the commentary is that there was a real-life boxer that was associated with this movie that actually opened up in Stockton, California. He actually opened up a place called Fat City Boxing Gym. Yeah, and it's still open today, which is amazing. If that's not a testament to this film's legacy, I don't know what is, But yeah, that's pretty amazing. Now, as I said before, Jeff Bridges, this was not his first film. I already mentioned that his first film was actually when he appeared as an infant in The Company She Keeps, and then the Halls of Anger, which I mentioned earlier. But the film that really put Jeff Bridges on the map was, of course, Peter Bogdanovich's The Last Picture Show, based on the Larry McMurtry novel. which came out in 1971. And in 1972, he made another movie called Bad Company, which I'm still debating if I want to do a 50th anniversary commentary on that. But if that does happen, it will be later in the year. And so over the course of the 1970s, he got a lot of supporting bits, mostly in the secondary position. A lot of times he would not be the star of these films in the 70s. In King Kong, he was second billing to Jessica Lange. In Stay Hungry, he was actually the lead in that. I think that was probably his first lead role. Oh, no, actually it wasn't. I'm trying to remember here, because it's not Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, because he was second to Clint Eastwood in that one. Okay, so his first lead role was actually, I think, Rancho Deluxe in 1975, and then he headlined Stay Hungry the same year as King Kong in 1976. And then, of course, he was in Heaven's Gate, and then Cutter's Way, Tron, Starman, one of my favorites, which I have on Blu-ray behind me. Jagged Edge was a big hit. Tucker, the Man in His Dream, The Fisher King, The Big Lebowski, which is probably his most popular movie. It's not my personal favorite, but I do think it is very funny, and it's very much considered one of his probably his most recognizable role, when he played the dude in The Big Lebowski. And of course, as a lot of people knows, he won a Academy Award for Best Actor for Crazy Heart in 2009 as a country music star addicted to alcohol. And one of my favorites, True Grit. I very much love the remake of True Grit, even over the John Wayne movie. And then in 2016, he was also in one of my other favorites of his, Hell or High Water. That's actually one of my favorite films of the past decade, which is, it's set in Texas with these bank robbers, these two brothers, where they're robbing banks to raise money for a specific purpose. And Jeff Bridges plays the Texas Ranger about to retire, and he has to try to sniff these boys out before they strike the next bank. Great movie. And but he's kind of been I think he's kind of retired at this point, because he hasn't been in a film since he hasn't been in a movie since 2018. And in fact, I did see one of the films that he did that year, which was Bad Times at the El Royale, where he played Father Daniel Flynn. And he also did a documentary and also produced a documentary called Living in the Future's Past, where he not only served as the producer, but also the narrator. But I think he's pretty much, I think he may be pretty much retired at this point. So now, I adored this scene of Stacy Keach entering this bar. And on the bonus material, they cite the scene a lot as an example of, capturing the darkness of these hole-in-the-wall bars. There's just there's just a gloominess about them, and everything. It's just the atmosphere in this movie is so absorbing. Even if we are with people in very low points in their lives, and they're just they're just trying to get through until the next day with a whatever attitude. But Stacy Keach, he's been beat up so much. It's like, how much longer can he do this? Especially when he's getting so little out of what he's getting. Eventually he's going to have to find something else to do. Let's put it that way. And Stacy Keach, he was 30 years old. He was almost 30 when this movie came out. And as the commentators on the Blu-ray, who are film historians Lem Dobbs and Nick Redman, they say that he looks like he's 50, actually. It's true. He looks like he's been through so much already, and he's just, has that world weary quality about him where, I it's gonna be a cold shower when he realizes that, wow, I'm not gonna be able to do this anymore, whether it's due to brain damage or maybe some other health involved reason. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, he's this former championship boxer who, is really kind of, really at the end of his career as a boxer at this point. It's kind of funny. I mentioned the gentleman who appears earlier as Susan Tyrell's boyfriend, Curtis Cokes, who is in fact a real life world welterweight champion who is on the verge of retiring. Yet he does not play a boxer in this film. He just plays Susan Tyrell's boyfriend who just went to jail. And so now Stacy Keach as Billy Tully. I really like his character name too. He just starts to shack up with her for a short amount of time. And it's a rather prickly union, to say the least. Absolutely. Hey, Katrina, how you doing tonight? It's so lovely to see you. Yeah, just to let you know, I am to give all of you a timestamp real quick. We are approximately 38 minutes. We are approximately 38 minutes into Fat City. Anybody else in the chat, please let me know what you think of the movie Fat City and everything. But this has been a really illuminating journey so far, watching this movie and commenting on it so far. Yeah, this was a really good pick for a 50th anniversary commentary. I'm really glad that I decided to do this. And yet we haven't even gotten to the elephant in the room yet. We're not there yet. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer here, but now it should be noted that this movie is based on a novel by Leonard Gardner, his only book. Now, I did not know that before I sat down to watch this, but yeah, this was Leonard Gardner's only book, and it's actually in some circles considered an important novel. Like sort of like with Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird or whatever. It's treated with that kind of respect and reverence. In a 1969 interview with Life magazine, Leonard Gardner explained the meaning of the title of his novel. Quote, "Lots of people have asked me about the title of my book. It's part of Negro slang. When you say you want to go to Fat City, it means you want the good life. I got the idea for the title after seeing a photograph of a tenement in an exhibit in San Francisco. Fat City was scrawled in chalk on a wall. The title is ironic. Fat City is a crazy goal no one is ever going to reach." And it's also the old nickname for Stockton, California, which is where the novel and the film are both set. The nickname preceded Gardner's novel, however. Shot pretty much all on location in Stockton. But here's the interesting thing. All of the original Skid Row depicted in the novel was actually being demolished right before they started production for this movie. So most of the Skid Row scenes were filmed in the outer fringe of the original Skid Row, which was torn down a year after Fat City was filmed in order to make way for the construction of the Crosstown Freeway, or the Ort Loftus Freeway. And let's see. And so this bar scene, which goes on for quite a while, and like I said, it's very compelling. Stacy Keach and Susan Tyrell are killing it. They're absolutely killing it in this entire scene. This movie was shot by the legendary Conrad L. Hall. And a lot of people like to cite this specific scene in the bar as just, how luminous his photography was. Remember, this is the same guy that shot Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and won an Oscar for it, and also won 2 other Oscars, one for Sam Mendes' American Beauty and another one for Road to Perdition. I saw Road to Perdition in the theater, and to this day, it is still one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen, despite the fact it is set in downtown Chicago and other major cities during the Great Depression. Tom Hanks plays a gangster in that movie, and it's also the final movie for not only Conrad L. Hall, the cinematographer, but also Paul Newman himself, who plays the Irish mobster who adopts Tom Hanks instead of his own son, played by Daniel Craig in one of his early roles. But Conrad Hall is seriously considered one of the great cinematographers who ever lived, and so his work on Fat City can't go unnoticed as well. Among the other films that he's shot, they include In Cold Blood, directed by Richard Brooks, which was actually one of the he was actually nominated 3 times for the Oscar before he finally won for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. But he also shot Electra Guide in Blue, The Day of the Locust, Black Widow, Marathon Man, Tequila Sunrise, Class Action, Searching for Bobby Fischer, American Beauty, and finally Road to Perdition. Absolutely, without a doubt, one of our great cinematographers. Yeah, in 2003, Hall was judged to be one of history's 10 most influential cinematographers in a survey of the members of the International Cinematographers Guild, and he's been given a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Oh, and actually, very interestingly enough, he also won. He won the British Academy of Film Awards for those 3 same films: Butch Cassidy, American Beauty, and Road to Perdition. And he also won American Society of Cinematographers Awards for Tequila Sunrise and Searching for Bobby Fischer, which that's really cool too, considering those films aren't really remembered that well. But I remember watching both of those and liking both of them very much. Conrad L. Hall, one of the great cinematographers, and remember that he won his last Oscar for Road to Perdition posthumously. I remember when I was watching the ceremony on television, and I remember when he won that award, and not a dry eye in the house. Absolutely not a dry eye. Excuse me 1 second. Hey, Briley Van Dyke, how you doing tonight, sir? The great former welterweight champion Curtis Coates has a role in this. The Fighting Pride of Dallas, Texas. Yeah, Keach was good in this. Yeah, I was talking about Curtis Coates earlier, and he will be back. We haven't seen the last of him yet. He will indeed be getting out of jail later, but welcome to the commentary tonight, Briley. Glad you could come. Absolutely. Now, I think now's the time that I should talk about my favorite John Huston film, because I've already talked about his 3 masterpieces, Treasure of Sierra Madre, Maltese Falcon, African Queen. And, a lot of his later films like The Dead, Praise Honor, and Fat City especially have also gotten a lot of respect and acclaim as well. But the movie that he played God on happens to be the 1956 adaptation of Herman Melville's Moby Dick. And this is the very rare Twilight Time Blu-ray, which actually has the movie as it was originally supposed to be seen in 1956 in terms of the muted color palette, courtesy of Oh God, he has a special credit in the movie, but yeah, this film was intentionally made to look like if you were like in a 19th century painting, in terms of bringing Herman Melville's a great novel to life. This movie, Moby Dick. Let me tell you something. Gregory Peck was nearly lost at sea while they were filming Moby Dick. That's how crazy John Huston was when he was making the movie. He was literally playing God. And Gregory Peck, when he's on the rubber whale at the end, stabbing it with the harpoon. And don't get me wrong, the special effects for 1956 are spectacular. The rubber whale is absolutely convincing. Trust me. But when he's stabbing the whale with the harpoon and everything, yeah, Gregory Peck was very nearly lost at sea. A lot of the reactions that you see from all the other actors are absolutely genuine because they were actually scared that he had drowned. But I mean, because of the fact that I do consider Moby Dick, the great American novel tied with the adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I mean, I do think that the 1956 version of Moby Dick is without a doubt his most underrated achievement, and it's such a shame that it had bombed at the box office because I do honestly feel, unlike any other adaptation of that epic work, that it captures everything it truly vividly captures the whaling culture and everything that we had done. I mean, I do truly think that Moby Dick is a symbol of all the whales that we slaughtered over the centuries, and this is basically what's going to get back at human beings for destroying their population. And that's why I think Moby Dick is such a powerful movie. Even though in this movie, of course, the whale hunting scenes in particular are very hard to watch. If you're sensitive to that kind of thing, I mean, it is hard to watch. But the music, magnificent. The Oswald Morris color palette, magnificent. I mean, everything about this version of Moby Dick I just adore. Even Gregory Peck's performance, which he always underrated. Always underrated. But anyway, enough of Moby Dick. Let's now talk about the lovely Candy Clark. She was a model. She was recommended to director John Huston by Jack Nicholson. Yeah, Candy Clark, of course, is most well known for being in American Graffiti, the George Lucas film, where she became the unlikely girlfriend to Terry the Toad, played by Charlie Martin Smith. And here she plays, just a normal, pretty girl that doesn't have a lot to do. Here again, there was a lot of footage that was actually cut from the final film by the studio Columbia. It was not John Huston's calling. It was not Leonard Gardner. It was not, no, it was nobody involved in the production. It was actually the studio. They cut about 20 minutes of footage because they felt that the story was too depressing for audiences, and that oh my God, we're gonna wear them down if we keep them going after 2 long hours of this, which I don't know if you want to call that ridiculous. I don't know, but it is true that Fat City is not. It's not a real accessible movie to a lot of audiences, and that's part of its issue. But it actually has an even bigger issue, which unfortunately has tainted the film's reputation to an extent, even if it hasn't gone so far as to outright kill it. Because here again, I like the movie Fat City. I think it captures the boxing world exceptionally well. And like I said, I really like the acting in the movie. The elephant in the room, ladies and gentlemen, is that John Huston had assaulted Susan Tyrell during the production. Now, of course, look, I've read a lot of biographies. I've read a lot of Hollywood histories in book form, and that some of her favorite actors were absolute scumbags. John Wayne being one of one of them. Very very racist. Frederick March was a butt pincher. And you read all these things and you think to yourself, okay, well, can I still watch their movies and whatnot? And it's actually, I mean, I had no idea until I listened to the commentary on the Blu-ray by Lem Dobbs and Nick Redman. I had no idea that this was the case. But yeah, unfortunately, it kind of let me bring up this article that I have to share real quick, which was from The Statesman in 2014 or 2012, actually, right after Susan Tyrell had passed. A life of blows and disappointments can't bow Susan Tyrell. Tyrell is a movie star, though she'd be the first to tell you that the stars all but extinguished. Wisps of smoke curling off the ash pile of flops. Show business burned her early, and she bears the scars with a rancor that's slightly camouflaged by a beaming, charge-ahead optimism. She has a dry, wry, dirty sense of humor that deflects misfortune and curdles cynicism. Tyrell has acted in 75 films and television shows and earned a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination as a blowsy barfly in John Huston's 1972 boxing drama Fat City. She played a whore in Islands of the Stream, 1977, a rowdy biker grandma in the John Waters comedy Cry Baby, starring Johnny Depp, and a 3-inch tall woman in Big Top Pee-wee. She's appeared on Beretta, Starsky and Hutch, and Kojak. She watched her roles increasingly consigned to Misfits, Hags, and Nut Jobs. But yeah, this article is basically all about her struggles. And now we come to John Huston. John Huston destroyed her dreams of Hollywood stardom. The director of The Maltese Falcon and the treasurer of the Sierra Madre hired Tyrell to play the alcoholic Oma in Fat City and proceeded to pull the casting couch routine. Anger bubbles as she relates in graphic detail how he forced himself on her. Quote, "It was disgusting. He was looking down on me like an old hound dog. I was mortified. I thought I was better than that." She refuses to call it rape, and she never officially reported it. She once told an interviewer, quote, "He stole something sacred from me. He's the seed for all my behavior," unquote. That one incident was like a car crash to me. I broke down, and I made a pledge to myself that I would always. She pauses emotionally. "I am sorry I haven't talked about this in years." It was a downside from there, she says. Her acting career is disappointing, to say the least. I loved Bette Davis, and I felt I was going to be the next Bette Davis. I knew I had it in me to do a dossier of roles. I so wanted it. I ask again, the interviewer asked her about her career. "You mean, how did I end up in so much crap?" she snaps. If you want to see Susan Tyrell soften like a marshmallow and radiate like a smitten teenager, bring up what is perhaps the highlight of her life, her love affair with Hervé Villechaize. If you remember him from The Man with Golden Gun and Fantasy Island. They met in the mid-'70s when Tyrell was starring in a play and the director needed a little person for a role. Tyrell told a friend, "I need a fabulous midget." She recalls adding, "We didn't say little people back then." Her friend replied, "I have the midgiest midget for you." And I'm sorry, I don't like using that word more than once in one sentence, or even more than once in an article, let alone, but excuse me. Tyrell and Villachez fell in love and lived together for 2 years in a Laurel Canyon house in Los Angeles. They later performed together in Forbidden Zone. He was so damn cute. I loved him. He rocked my world. Long after their affair ended, Villachez killed himself in 1993. She says, "Oh, I miss him. God, I miss him. We just had a blast together. He was hilarious, had the most amazing wit. We cooked. He loved to wash my back. He was the best boyfriend." And so, yeah, that is what, in fact. Oh, before she passed away, and when this interview took place, she was painting in acrylics and loud hues. Human genitalia and people getting it on are inspiration, she says. The paintings are lewd and funny. She stays up until 4 in the morning painting and gets up late in the afternoon. She's even painted her prosthetic legs with luxuriant designs of lizards and roses that look like tattoos. This is where the legs come in. This is where you think double amputation would ruin a person. This is where Susan Tyrell gets tough. Within days of the essential thromboxethemia diagnosis, gangrene set in. I kissed my legs goodbye way before they cut them off. I told them, I know what's going on, just cut them off, quick. I always said I was the perfect person to lose their legs. If anybody has to lose them, take mine. She's glib about it, and an explanation of her indifference is maddeningly elusive. Tyrell is on her second salty dog. It's good, she looks at me. You're growing 2 heads. For all the good in her life now, Tyrell is restless. She's not happy, but she's not unhappy either. Quote, I am not thrilled to be happy. I'd have to be cut free traveling. I just want to go home. She doesn't know where that is. And like I said, that was published in the Austin American Statesman in 2012, September of 2012. Yeah. A very, very sad story that I felt the need to absolutely include in this commentary, because considering the fact that this assault by John Huston on Susan Tyrell happened during production, which here again, unfortunately, taints the movie. So now we get back to the age-old question. I mean, is Fat City essential cinema? Should it be recommended despite what happened behind the scenes? And look, it is a shame that Stacy Keach is a great actor, and he's done so many other great roles. One of my personal favorites being Road Games, directed by Richard Franklin and with Jamie Lee Curtis, which came out in 1982. And this is one of his best performances. And, it's obviously a very important film to him in terms of his career. Same thing with Candy Clark. On the documentary on the Blu-ray, they both really do wax poetic on how much this film meant for their careers. And here again, it was kind of a rebound for John Huston, which now you could probably say in hindsight was a bit undeserved, but at the same time, that does not diminish the film in terms of being a exceptional look at this low end boxing circuit and the people that inhabit it. So it's a tough call, and I always look at these things on a case by case basis. Based on this one thing, and here again, I didn't want to dig deeper. I didn't want to dig deeper after I learned this information for the first time today, by the way. I did not want to dig deeper more into John Huston. I'm sure, there are other things I haven't read about yet that are well aware either in the film community or, in terms of film historians. I mean, there's probably other stuff about John Huston that I just don't want to know about. And the fact that he assaulted Susan Tyrell via the casting couch maneuver is, horrible, to say the least. And of course, for those who want to see her performance in this movie, I mean, with that kind of knowledge, watching this performance of hers and having that knowledge that the director assaulted her, it just does that make the movie and the performance worth watching? Here again, I mean, it depends. It depends person to person. All I'm saying is that I cannot stop watching Moby Dick, and I cannot stop watching movies like Treasure of Sierra Madre or The African Queen. But then again, we're talking about only a handful here, while the rest of his filmography I'm willing to leave in the dust. But how about Fat City, though? Should I keep this Blu-ray, or should I return to it every once in a while? And that's what I wanted to figure out for the rest of the commentary here. Let me do a timestamp here real quick. We are approximately 1 hour and 3 minutes. 1 hour and 3 minutes into John Huston's Fat City, and we have approximately 33 minutes left to go. Now, excuse me 1 second. Excuse me. Okay. Now, as I said before, I did decide to order the Blu-ray that came out a couple months ago, and this is in fact a Indicator Powerhouse Blu-ray, which was released in the UK, although it is a all-region Blu-ray. You can play it on ABC players if you really want it. Okay. And actually, I am sorry. This actually came out in 2021. So this just came out last year. It has a 4K restoration from the original negative, original mono audio, alternative 5.1 surround soundtrack, audio commentary with film historians Lem Dobbs and Nick Redman, Sucker Punch Blues, looking back on John Huston's Fat City, which runs 55 minutes, and it is a documentary featuring interviews with actors Stacy Keach and Candy Clark, casting director Fred Roos, who worked on a lot of Francis Ford Coppola's movies, including The Godfather, and assistant cameraman Gary Vitter. An American classic, which is 22 minutes, an illustrated audio interview with Fat City author Leonard Gardner, John Huston on Fat City, a 6-minute archival interview film for the French TV program Pour le Cinéma. The John Player Lecture with John Huston is an 88-minute audio recording of an interview conducted by Brian Baxter at the National Film Theater, and I listened to about 30 or 40 minutes of that, and it's basically presented as a commentary track almost. So you get to listen to this 88-minute audio interview while watching the movie. So there's essentially 2 commentary tracks. Isolated score, original theatrical trailer, image gallery, new and improved English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. Now, just to give you all a closer look right there. So those are all of the Blu-ray edition special features. Look, audio, visual and audio quality on Fat City are stellar. The picture is very, very clean. This is a 4K restoration, as I said, from the original negative. And like I said, this is a massive amount of bonus features given to John Huston's Fat City. Superlative Blu-ray. I cannot deny this is a superlative Blu-ray, and I cannot deny that I actually really loved a lot of the bonus material on here. I did like the John Huston interview, and I did like the commentary with the two historians, and I also liked the documentary with the interviews. So I pretty much liked everything about the Blu-ray, and for the most part, I am glad I picked it up. And here again, had I known that the director had actually assaulted Susan Tyrell, had I had known that, I don't know if I would have ordered this Blu-ray. I don't know if I would have, to be perfectly honest. All I'm saying is, after looking at all of the bonus features, and after watching the movie several times today, all I can say is, while what the director did to her is absolutely disgusting, it is criminal, and it should be mentioned. And I'm glad I had to mention it during this commentary. I mean, it's impossible not to. I still would be willing to return to Fat City. I did like, I mean, here again, the acting and the writing was, I think, more than enough, and as well as the bonus material. I mean, I like the film from how it's shot, and I love the acting and the writing, particularly Stacy Keach, who is amazing, and he deserved all the accolades and all the praise that he deserved for this movie, as did Susan Tyrell, obviously. I mean, they all deserved every positive word that was spoken about them and their performances. And like I said, I would be open to reading the book now, except for the fact, from what I understand, the book is even darker and more depressing than this movie. And on top of that, from what I understand, is that the author is given sole credit, although to be fair, John Huston obviously had a hand in the script somewhere. And even on the commentary, they even say that some other people who were good friends with, who were hired by the producers, probably had their script writing hands in the script as well. But from what I understand, everything that I learned through the bonus material on this Blu-ray is that the film is basically the novel. Aside from all the interior monologue and everything, and the fact that we know what the characters are actually thinking in the book, it's literally the book on screen. Literally the book on screen. It's just a little less dark. There's a little bit more hope for the characters, especially with that amazing final shot, which we're going to come to very, very soon. But I have to confess, considering the fact I do now own Fat City, to be perfectly honest, I would be willing to return to the Blu-ray. I mean, what John Huston did to Susan Tyrell, one more time, as I said, it's unforgivable, and just absolutely disgusting. And like I said, unfortunately, it happens in Hollywood a lot more often than we think, and unfortunately, it's just an aspect that we have to deal with and everything. And here again, being a case by case basis, however, like I said, I'm willing to return to Fat City. Maybe it's a massive negative, but it's pretty much the only negative. And that's where, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It hurts, but at the same time, I could still watch this movie without even thinking about it. And I think that's what the key is with this movie. But look, if you want to get this Blu-ray, you can get it for a reasonable price, $15-$20. And you will get your money's worth. You will absolutely get your money's worth with the Blu-ray material. And believe me, I mean, I see, this is not the same thing. Believe me, what I am saying right now, it's not the same thing as recommending the movie to people. What I am saying is that I actually, despite this revelation, I still could probably sit through Fat City and not let that knowledge ruin my enjoyment of the performances, the cinematography, and everything else that was put into the making of the movie. Remember, I mean, film is always a collaborative process. And the thing is, I don't even want to immediately ban John Huston films from my collection. I mean, Moby Dick is a perfect example of that. Treasure of Sierra Madre, African Queen. I mean, we can't really ban those movies. So, but here again, everybody is going to be different. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very tough to talk about. It's very tough to talk about. But like I said, with this movie, it's absolutely imperative to know exactly what happened. And like I said, I mean, Susan Tyrell's performance is now illuminated by so many thousands of degrees because of that knowledge. And I was going to mention also that the Gardner novel, the reason why it's also a lot more darker than the movie is because the ending is actually very different. At the end of the book, from what I understand, is he picks up a couple of the Jeff Bridges character. He picks up a couple of hitchhikers, and then they have an argument, and he gets kicked out or whatever, and left at the side of the road as he's trying to make his way cross country and everything. It's a very bleak, very down, very depressing ending. Whereas this ending, here again, it has a little bit of hope, but at the same time, you understand the position that these characters have found themselves in at this point in their lives. And here we are coming upon the climactic fight of the piece, the climactic fight of Fat City, where Stacy Keach is going to fend off against another boxer, from Mexico. Get his name here real quick. Sixto Rodriguez. Yeah, Sixto Rodriguez as Lucero. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do a timestamp one more time here as we're entering the third act of the picture. We are at 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 30 seconds. 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 30 seconds into Fat City, and we have about 20 minutes left to go. Yes, the melancholic "Help Me Make It Through the Night" is a country music ballad written and composed by Chris Christopherson, released on his 1970 album Christopherson. Yep. And his original lyrics speak of a man's yearning for sexual intimacy. They were controversial in 1970-71 when the song was first covered by a woman, Sammy Smith in that case, quote, "I don't care what's right or wrong, and I won't try to understand. Let the devil take tomorrow. Lord, tonight I need a friend. Wow. And Chris Christopherson later said he got the inspiration for the song from an Esquire magazine interview with Frank Sinatra. When asked what he believed in, Frank replied, booze, broads, or a Bible, whatever helps me make it through the night. During this time as a struggling songwriter, Chris Christopherson wrote and composed the song while staying with Dottie West and her husband Bill at their home on Shies Hill Road in Nashville's Green Hills neighborhood. When he offered Dottie West the song, she originally claimed it was, quote, too suggestive for her. Eventually, she would record it before the year was out, and it included on her album Careless Hands. However, by then, several others had recorded and released versions of it, some garnering great success. Later on, West said that not recording helped me make it through the night when Christopherson originally offered it to her was one of the greatest regrets of her career. Though her version charted, it was not as successful as Smith's version had been. And also in 1980, Willie Nelson covered the song. His rendition became a hit on the country music charts of both the United States and Canada. And Fat City, as I said before, about 20 minutes of the film was cut prior to release by the studio. But the editor on the film was a man by the name of Walter A. Thompson, who was nominated twice for the Academy Award for editing This Above All in 1942, and The Nun's Story, starring Audrey Hepburn, from 1959. He was also nominated for an Ace Eddie Award for The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm in 1962. He only made about 10 movies, Fat City being one of his last ones. He also edited The Paper Chase and Farewell, My Lovely, before passing away in 1975. And on Rotten Tomatoes, believe it or not, that Fat City actually has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 22 reviews. The consensus being Fat City is a bleak, mordant, slice of life boxing drama that doesn't pull its punches. Here we are at the climactic fight. Jeff Bridges is out there in attendance, watching, cheering Stacy Keach on. And Stacy Keach had actually won the Kansas City Film Critics Circle Award for Best Actor, tied with Marlon Brando for The Godfather. And it's funny that that's actually very funny because originally John Huston actually wanted Marlon Brando for this role. I don't think that I personally don't think that Brando would have been right as this character. I think that Stacy Keach was much, much better casting. And actually, the story goes is that Brando said he kept wanting to consider it, and he took too long that John Huston finally said, well, fuck it. I'm just going to go to Stacy Keach now and ask him. And I think Huston actually made the right choice here. Although John Huston did not make the right choice when it came to Susan Tyrell, absolutely not. I mean, like I said, I mean, you learn when you learn things about certain movies that you like, and you think, oh my God, will this one negative thing really hurt my chances of ever watching it again? I mean, here again, case by case basis. Despite the fact that William Hurt abused Marley Matlin after Children of Lesser God, I can still watch Children of Lesser God, and I do love that movie. And one thing that helps in that case is that we never see William Hurt strike Marlee Matlin on camera. Now, of course, all that stuff happened in their real life relationship after the movie and after Marlee Matlin won the Oscar. But, there's nothing in the movie that necessarily triggers me, thinking about that. Because I just watched the love story that's unfolding between James Leeds and Sarah Norman. And by the way, Children of the Lesser God is based on a play about a deaf teacher falling in love with a deaf woman at a school in New Brunswick. And I adore it. I absolutely adore it, despite the fact that I found out years later that William Hurt treated Marlee Matlin so horribly afterward. But here again, case by case basis. I'm one of those that is willing to look beyond an artist. But here again, I mean, I don't want to watch the Jeepers Creepers movies anymore. But not just because of what Victor Salva did, but also the fact that he ripped off an Unsolved Mysteries episode to write Jeepers Creepers. So here again, case by case, case by case, case by case. In the case of Fat City, my final verdict is that it's a red flag, it's a black mark, whatever you want to call it. And it taints the movie, yet I don't think it cripples it. I don't think it necessarily knocks the film out, if I was going to use a pun. I do think the movie is worth watching still. I do think that it is one of the best boxing movies out there. And it's so unfortunate and so sad and so just I mean, how far, what are the deaths? How far does something like this have, how far in terms of plumbing deaths does a crime like this has to be where, you just feel like you can't watch something at all. And it's a tough call, but ultimately I'm going to say that I would be willing to watch Fat City again. Just like I would be willing to watch Moby Dick again, and I would be willing to watch The African Queen again. So, but here again, the fact that it happened prior to the film being shot, literally right before, is what makes it hurt a little bit, even more so than something like Moby Dick or The African Queen, is that knowing that it happened right before production, and what we see with Susan Tyrell's performance, it might be too hard to watch for some people. I mean, the guys on the audio commentary, Lem Dobbs and Nick Redman, they give all the glowing praise to Susan Tyrell for her performance, and she deserves it. Absolutely, she deserves it. The thing is, Fat City is kind of unique in that I like the movie, I like the acting, I like the writing. It's a glimpse into the world of boxing that I never would have cared for had I not given it a shot. And I'm glad I gave it a shot. And yes, I will keep the Blu-ray. All I'm saying is, though, if you don't care for boxing, it might be less accessible. If you don't care for the actors, it could be less accessible. I do think there is enough here for audiences nowadays to check out, but with the disclaimer, with the big disclaimer in the beginning, just remember that the director did an atrocious criminal act. He never got persecuted for it. He never got Me Too'd about it. Essentially, it was never reported, and it does taint the product. But I don't think that it should be buried and never seen again. And so that is my final assessment on Fat City. So massive caveat. The assault that happened on Susan Tyrell by John Huston is a massive caveat, and yet at the same time, I still think it's worth checking out. If you want to get the Blu-ray, like I said, you're going to get your money's worth out of it. Absolutely. And of course, yeah, Stacy Keach has finally had enough. And he's going to tell who he's been boxing for so long, I'm done. And that, of course, I forgot to mention one more actor I forgot to mention was the character of Ruben, played by Nicholas Colasanto, who was an American actor best known as Coach Ernie Pantuso in the American television sitcom Cheers. Funny enough, I was talking about Cheers on the Night Shift commentary because I like Shelley Long in the movies, but I've watched very little of Cheers. And in fact, unfortunately, I don't remember his character, but he did serve in the United States Navy during World War II and later attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. He only made 5 films. He was in The Counterfeit Killer in 1968, Fat City 1972, The Manchu Eagle Murder Caper Mystery from 1975, Alfred Hitchcock's last film, Family Plot in 1976. And finally, he played Tommy Como, the mob boss, in Raging Bull, of all films. But he did direct television episodes for Hawaii Five-0, Bonanza, Columbo, Logan's Run, Starsky and Hutch, Chips, and The Streets of San Francisco. And here again is Curtis Cokes, real life welterweight champion. He passed away in 2020 at the age of 82. Cokes lost the world welterweight title on April 18th of 1969 after being knocked out by Cuban Jose Napoleus in 13 rounds in Los Angeles. On June 29th, the pair had a rematch in Napoleus' adopted hometown of Mexico City, Mexico, and Napoleus repeated his victory, this time by a 10th round knockout. Cokes had 11 more fights before retiring, winning 7, losing 3, and drawing in 1. His last 3 fights were in South Africa. He retired after a 10-round decision win against Ezra Menzanane on October 5th of 1972. So approximately 2 months after the release of Fat City, that is when Curtis Cokes officially retired from the world of boxing. 30 knockouts, 62 wins, 30 by knockouts. It's not bad. That's not bad. Well, actually, no. That's for boxing, that's pretty damn good, obviously. I'm just, like I said, it's hard for me to muster any enthusiasm for, boxing as a sport. It's just not my cup of tea, But it is still amazing reading about these boxers and their real life accomplishments here. And see, we're at 1 hour and 31 minutes. 1 hour and 31 minutes. We have approximately 5 minutes left to go. Now, what I'm going to do, hey, Kristen, how you doing, buddy? I'm doing wonderful. Just finishing up Fat City here. And we're about to watch in about about 15 minutes, we're going to watch King Boxer from the Shaw Brothers, aka the Five Fingers of Death. And this is going to be, admittedly, this is not going to be so much a commentary as it is going to be a first time reaction, because I spent the day watching this Blu-ray with all the bonus material on it. I didn't even get to watching King Boxer, but we're still going to watch it. And yes, I'm going to provide as much commentary as I possibly can. Let me go ahead and get the link. You can watch it free on YouTube. And then what I'm going to do is pause the stream for about 10-15 minutes, and we will go ahead and start King Boxer. And these are, of course, the moving final moments of Fat City, however, between Jeff Bridges and Stacy Keach. Really well matched in this film. Okay, so King Boxer. Let's see, posting the link right now. Pause on Dragon Dynasty logo. Yeah, see, there it is. There's the YouTube link. So, tell you what, this movie, Fat City, is going to end in approximately 3 minutes. So it's going to end at 10:40 p.m. Eastern. Let's start King Boxer at 10 minutes to 11. So at 10:50 Eastern Standard Time, we will watch excuse me, we will watch King Boxer on this exact same stream. And like I said, it's going to be more of a first time reaction than a commentary, but I still intend to have a lot of things to say about it. Yeah, it's amazing to see how Jeff Bridges had, well, both of them, Stacy Keach and Jeff Bridges, are both still working. You know, it's pretty. Well, no, I'm sorry, Jeff Bridges is officially retired, I think, at this point, because he hasn't done anything since 2018. But Stacy Keach, you know, he's 81, and he's still doing things. Absolutely, and he rightfully considers Fat City one of the highlights of his career. And you know, we can't take that away from him in any way, shape, or form, because you know, he is that good in this movie. It's just a shame that the movie is hurt by something that else that happened right before during pre-production during the audition process. But here again, I don't think it kills the film's reputation. Hey, buddy, I'm going to take off. Like I said, luminous photography by Conrad L. Hall, one of the greats in the industry. I'm really wondering what King Boxer is like, because you know, it's really one of those first movies, if not the first, to really kick off the kung fu craze in America in the early 1970s. Because, like I said, it came out right before Enter the Dragon. And it should be noted that the alternative title is Five Fingers of Death. And here we have the end credits to Fat City. Uh, Everybody that came out tonight for the Fat City commentary, I mean, bless your hearts. I hope you found my commentary illuminating. Uh, I mean, you probably were shocked by some details, but here again, I mean, all that needed to be said, and all that needed to be put for this commentary for Fat City. Just so but I hope you all, I hope you all liked it. Tell you what, let's take a 10-minute break. Don't go anywhere. I will be back on this stream, and we will go ahead and start the 1972 film Kickboxer. So I shall return. And now remember this: the iron fist technique can be lethal. Only use it in the course of justice. Do not ever use it for your own glory in private matches or quarrels. Good evening, everyone. This is Stone Gassman back after the commentary for Fat City, directed by John Huston. And now we're about to do a commentary on the 1972 film Kickboxer, aka The Five Fingers of Death, one of the very first kung fu films to kick off the explosion and popularity in the early 70s, along with Enter the Dragon, which was also released by Warner Brothers a year later, and starring the famous Bruce Lee. However, Kickboxer is a different animal because this is a film that is from the Shaw Brothers studio, very famous studio from Hong Kong that is responsible for a lot of classics in the kung fu genre. Just to name a few. I mean, I suppose I could do this while the movie's playing, of course. But at any rate, so it's a Shaw Brothers film, and released in the United States by Warner Brothers in March 1973 as Five Fingers of Death. The film capitalized on the success of Warner's TV series Kung Fu and was responsible for beginning the North American Kung Fu craze of the 70s. Warner followed it with the Chinese Kung Fu co-production Enter the Dragon, released later that same year, but the most successful of the Chopsaki films. Yeah, they were known as Chopsakis, apparently. But at any rate, I have never seen King Boxer before. Now, I have seen my fair share of kung fu films. I've seen my, I mean, I like Jackie Chan movies. I like Bruce Lee movies, and I've seen, other obscure ones along the way. I feel like I need to watch this movie. I chose this because I said to myself, you know what? Not only is it another boxing movie that I could put together with Fat City, but also it sounds like, it's a landmark film of the genre. I could be wrong, but everything I've read up until now makes me think, this is one of the films of 1972 that I just had to check out. So without further ado, I am paused at the Dragon Dynasty logo. Right here is on the screen, you see the YouTube logo, which you can just go there, pause it on Dragon Dynasty, and we will go ahead and get started here. On the count of 3, 2, 1, and play. And like I said, this is really my first time ever watching King Boxer, aka the Five Fingers of Death, because here again, I mean, most of my day was devoted to preparing for Fat City with all the bonus material on the Blu-ray. But here again, I'm doing this as a bonus commentary, so I'm not too I'm not too concerned. I mean, I think it'll be interesting seeing this movie. There's the Shaw Scope logo. King Boxer, producer Run Run Shaw. Now, Run Run Shaw, that's an interesting name that I should okay, I have to do a commentary very soon on Blade Runner. I've been preparing for it. But Sir Run Run Shaw's name is actually underneath the Lad Company logo for Blade Runner, because you see the tree appear and everything. It says the Lad Company, and it says in association with Sir Run Run Shaw, and distributed through Warner Brothers. So we'll be talking a lot more about Run Run Shaw when we get to Blade Runner. I promise you all that. But it was great seeing his name pop up here in the credits. And director Chang-hwa. All right. Like I said, very first time watch. Let's see if we got some subtitles here. Okay. I would be hard pressed to think this may be my first Shaw Brothers movie. It may very well be. This may be my first foray into the Shaw Brothers library. Anybody in the chat, please fill me in on the Shaw Brothers, because I mean, here again, I apologize. I thought I would have enough time to get to researching King Boxer, but I just ran out of time. And we're already started a fight scene here. All right. I could probably get away with a little bit of sound here. But yeah, Run Run Shaw was a entertainment mogul and philanthropist. Established the Shaw Prize for Astronomy, Life Science, and Medicine. He passed away at 106 years old. He was 106 when he passed away in 2014. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Yeah, in 1957, Run Run Shaw moved to Hong Kong, which was emerging as the new center of Chinese language cinema, and reorganized Tiani's operations there as Shaw Brothers Studio. Shaw copied Hollywood by setting up a permanent production site where his actors worked and lived on 46 acres purchased from the government in Clearwater Bay. At the opening of the Shaw movie town in December of 1961, Shaw Studios had the world's largest privately owned film production outfit with about 1,200 workers shooting and editing films daily. Shaw Productions ran up to 2 hours, cost as much as $50,000, a lavish sum by Asian standards in the 1960s. By the 60s, Shaw Brothers had become the biggest producer of movies in Asia. Notable films produced by Shaw, including director Li Han Zhang's The Magnificent Concubine, which took the Grand Prix at the 1962 Cannes Film Festival, the 1963 blockbuster musical film The Love of Turn, directed by Li Han Slang, King Hugh's 1966 pioneering wuxia film Come Drink With Me, and Chang Che's 1967's The One-Armed Swordsman, which broke box office records. His companies in Shanghai, Singapore, and Hong Kong made more than 1,000 movies, with annual production peaking at 50 pictures in 1974, when Shaw was described as the czar of Asian movies. The popular and nostalgic costume dramas of Shaw Brothers celebrated traditional Chinese values and culture, which was in contrast to the then anti-traditional ideology of communist mainland China, particularly during the Cultural Revolution, but fit with the policy of the national government of Taiwan and U.S. anti-communist strategy, while not conflicting with the less provocative approach of the colonial government of Hong Kong. Shaw Studios also popularized an early wuxia variant of kung fu film genre that had influence on directors such as John Woo and Quentin Tarantino. That's where I knew the Shaw Brothers from before. It was through Quentin Tarantino, because I know he's mentioned them before. To be perfectly honest, this is my very first Shaw Brothers experience. Well, so far I'm already impressed by the cinematography. I mean, that's for sure. Cinematography courtesy of Wang Young Lung. This looks really good for a film from 1972. It really does. And it looks like this movie is basically about a young student who has to be trained under a new master in order that he may be able to win a martial arts tournament and prevent local thugs from getting the power and prestige that would come were they to win it. Oh, Yeah, sounds like a classic traditional story. Oh, wow. Uh, so, yeah, and this film was distributed by Warner Brothers on April 28th, 1972 in Hong Kong, but it came out a year later in 1973 in the United States, right before Enter the Dragon. Yeah. I've seen Enter the Dragon many times. I really do like that. It's really a uh, maybe the Godfather of the martial arts genre. I don't know. It should be noted that next month, all throughout the month of September, that I will be watching nothing but international movies. So we'll be going to England, we'll be going to France, we'll be going to Germany, we'll be going to Czechoslovakia, uh, and end up in Jamaica, of all places, for all international films released in 1972. And in October, we're going to do the horror films of 1972. So, yeah, trust me when I say we're going to be going to about 10 different countries in September for all my commentaries, including one for Hong Kong. I'm not going to say which one it is right now, but yes, we will be going back to Hong Kong for another movie next month. Well, that's a. He looks like he's smoking a toothbrush. Oh yeah, just start grabbing things. Yeah, of course they didn't pay. So these are all the thugs. I take it. Yep. Yeah, that answered my question. Oh. Well, I like it so far. That's one thing I can definitely say for sure. Now, here's the thing. I like to consider myself a purist in a lot of areas, and one of those areas is I'd rather watch a movie in its native language with English subtitles rather than a dubbed version. I don't mind dubbed movies. I really don't. I mean, I'll watch movies dubbed or subtitles. My personal preference really lies in hearing hearing their native language and appreciating hearing their native language and just reading the subtitles. Now, and people can argue, well, that's kind of a distraction because you need to pay attention to what's going up on the screen. And, it's like what I've met many people who have that same attitude is that I don't want to read movies, I want to watch them. So, but I mean, I'm one of those ones that actually prefers subtitles over dubbing. And so this is obviously a dubbed version that works perfectly fine under the circumstances. I mean, there's some movies where the dubbing is more distracting than others. I could even make an argument that something like South Pacific is more distracting in its dubbing than this. And here we go. Oh, wow. Okay, okay. Just literally broke his on his head. So this is the Shaw Brothers style, I take it. Oh. uh, in a contemporary review for the New York Times, Roger Greenspun wrote, quote, I don't know much about karate, but I know what I like. And the karate in Five Fingers of Death, for all its slow motion high leaps, its grunts, its whooshing fists, has the look of the bottom of the barrel. It is all too extravagant, too gratuitously wild, as if composed for show rather than for attack, defense, or any real purpose. Damn! Variety called it a Chinese actioner glossed with all the explosive trappings that make for a hit in its intended market. Exquisitely filmed and packed with colorful production values. Yes, I agree with that a lot more. A lot more. Direction by Chang-hwa is powerful and direct, and he gets top performances from the cast headed by Lo Lei as the student and Wang Ping as his beloved. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 2 stars out of 4. So we've had an extreme negative review, an extreme positive review, and now a middle of the road review courtesy of Gene Siskel. And he called it a shoddy, poorly dubbed melodrama stuffed with insane dialogue, though he acknowledged the genuine excitement generated by the fight sequences, providing you can get excited at the sight of a karate chop that splits a forehead. Okay. Frederick Milstein wrote in the Los Angeles Times, director Chen Chang-ho, who has a definite sense of style, keeps the pace fast and the action spectacular. Dubbing is awful, but you don't come to this one to hear people talk. Yep. Yep. In a review for the Monthly Film Bulletin, John Gillett found that the trick effect in which the characters leap into the air to land in either a tree or on an opposite side of an opponent became, quote, somewhat tedious as the film progresses. However, the sheer panache of the staging and apparent enjoyment of the participants keeps the narrative moving freely. In a retrospective review, AllMovie gave the film 3 stars out of 5, saying the film was not the best kung fu movie the Shaw Brothers put out, but as an early entry, it holds up surprisingly well for a genre getting on its legs. The review noted that a more unfortunate stereotype perpetuated by this and future films is the Japanese as primitive, ape-like villains. And the film drags a bit on that you are now tired kung fu cliches, but the punchy spirit that made it a popular still survives. But I had to add it to my 1972 watch list and for tonight's viewing when I read that Quentin Tarantino listed the movie among his 10 greatest films of all time. So, yes, King Boxer, aka Five Fingers of Death, is one of Quentin Tarantino's top 10 all time movies. That's why I ultimately added it to my commentary list. And I think I made the right choice. I think I made the right choice. I can see this getting mixed reviews overall, though, and that's what I just read from those critics. That this is not for everybody. This is here again. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But karate and martial arts films are certainly not my least favorite genre. I mean, my 2 least favorite genres are actually westerns and animation movies. But I can definitely watch my fair share of karate and martial arts films. kind of looks like Yul Brynner a little bit, doesn't he? Wow. Excuse me while I take a drink here. Whoa, she actually bit his hand. Oh, wow. Uh, to do a timestamp real quick into King Boxer, we are approximately 18 minutes in. Like I said, the YouTube link is right there in the comments section. I mean, I knew with this type of film I wasn't going to do a lot of commentary on it anyway, because I'm just not an expert on this genre of films. I kind of had the idea for like every Saturday night this month that I'll be doing like a different sport every time. You know, last weekend was roller derby. You know, tonight is boxing and martial arts, and next week would be bull riding with Junior Bonner and the Honkers, which I have coming up. Tomorrow night, Sunday night, I'll be doing 2 Lad Company commentaries. One on 5 days into summer, starring Sean Connery, and also Lovesick, starring Dudley Moore and Elizabeth McGovern. So tomorrow night at 9 p.m., there will be those 2 Lad Company commentaries. Hmm. I would love to know if Quentin Tarantino has actually recorded a commentary for this movie, because I would definitely be down and listening to it. I mean, for a man who has so much passion for so many different film genres and periods and everything, you know, I would love to hear him talk about this movie. Now, I can't get over how exceptionally well shot the film is thus far. I mean, this really looks like more of a, you know, more of a newer film than a 1972 release. It really does. It really looks really looks good. I'm also glad I'm watching this before Blade Runner or commenting on it before Blade Runner. Actually, I'm really glad I'm doing this. Absolutely. Like I said, anybody out in the chat tonight, thank you so much for coming. And like I said, if you've seen King Boxer before, let me know what you think of it. Like I said, this is literally a first time uh, diving into the ice water watch. Oh, hey, Brian Trash, how you doing tonight, sir? Yeah, we're just watching King Boxer here. We're 21 minutes 30 seconds in, and it's on YouTube. The link's in the comment section, like I said. I'm really enjoying this so far. Like I said, I had zero time to prepare for it, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Beginning to see what Quentin Tarantino loves so much about it. Oh, wow. Now, see, that I can never do. I could never do that. Oh, you fell for it, dude. Why'd you fall for it? Everybody watching better be taking notes here. It's like he'll do the same thing to your ass. Now that's a reaction right there. I really love that. It's like, come on, man. Come on, bro. Uh, yeah, so tomorrow night will be 5 days, one summer, starring Sean Connery at 9 p.m. and Lovesick at 11. And on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings at 1 a.m. Eastern, I will be doing the first two Police Academy movies. Tuesday at 1 a.m. Police Academy, and then Wednesday at 1 a.m. Police Academy 2, their first assignment. I'm only going to be doing movies that are 90 minutes or less at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, like I said, they're going to be quick commentaries. They're not going to be like double features or anything. Well, every Saturday night, I'll probably be doing a double feature. Most Sunday nights will be a double feature as well. But yeah, I mean, all my 1 a.m. commentaries, yeah, they're just going to be 90-minute movies. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be wanting to go to bed right after those. Got to try harder. Yeah. There's a typical Zoom of the era. Now, see this lead actor's name, Lo Lee. Okay, well he passed away. He passed away in 2002. Yeah, 2002 at the age of 63. He was a Indonesian-born Hong Kong film actor and martial artist, best known as Chow Chi Hao in the 1972 martial arts film King Boxer. Priest Pat Pei Mel in Executioners from Shaolin and Clan of the White Lotus. Miyamoto in the 1977 film Fist of Fury 2 and General Tien Ta in the 1978 film The 36th Chamber of Shaolin. Let's see. In the 1980s, Lowe directed and starred in the 1980 film Clan of the White Lotus along with Gordon Liu. Lowe played triad gangster boss in the 1988 film Dragons Forever alongside Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Blau. Lowe played Faye in the 1989 film Miracles along with Jackie Chan, Richard Ng, and Billy Chow. In the 1990s, Lowe played Choi Kun Flun in the 1991 film Sex and Zen alongside Lawrence Ng, Amy Yip, and Kent Cheng. Lowe played the general in the 1992 film Police Story 3 Super Cop alongside Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh. Okay, I saw Super Cop in the theater. I remember Super Cop very, very well. That's actually one of my favorite Jackie Chan vehicles. And in the 2000s, Lowe played Wei Tung's uncle in the 2001 film The Vampire Combat and with Colin Chow and Valerie Chow. Lowe's last film was Glass Tears in 2001 before retiring from acting at the age of 62. And like I said, he passed away literally a year later from a heart attack. Wow. So yeah, that's low lay for you. Wow. Hmm. Hey Stone, I know you did Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Did you do any other Planet of the Apes movies? I did do Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I did that last year. I actually had a guest for that one. Yeah, I did that last July. So you'll find it. It's actually one of the first commentaries that I did. I want to do some other Planet of the Apes commentaries. I'll be doing Battle next year, and I may decide to do Battle with the Tim Burton movie, just to get it out of the way. I think because I think because those are the two weakest of the Planet of the Apes movies, I think it would be appropriate for me to actually do commentaries on Battle and the Tim Burton remake together. So expect that next year, and I could probably do the original and Beneath together somewhere along the way. And then I'd have to do Dawn and War still. So yeah, but there you go. I'm definitely going to do more Planet of the Apes movies in the future. But thank you so much for asking. Not a lot of blood so far in this movie. He looks like Tatsu from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with hair. Hey, maybe it's the same guy. No, like the neighboring dojo had his pet rat and everything. It's oh wow. Nah, it's very clear they used sound effects for the punches and the kicks. But hey, I mean they sound great. If you feel like you can feel the impact of the slap or the punch or the kick, then I think the movie has done its job. I think the Burton Planet of the Apes movie is worse than Battle, and Battle is not very good. Yeah, I mean, the makeup in the Tim Burton version is the best thing about it. I mean, that Rick Baker makeup is very, very impressive, and that's what I'm saying. By makeup, for makeup purposes, reasons alone, I think I would go with the Burton one over Battle. But I didn't necessarily hate Battle, but man, what a sorry ending to the original five. It Like I said, I should do those together and try to figure out which one is ultimately worse because admittedly, I'm still a little torn on it. Part of me wants to say Battle is better just because I don't want to say that a Rodney Dangerfield Apes movie is worse. But I mean, yeah, I mean the whole Ape Lincoln thing at the end of the Burton movie. Yeah, it's stupid. It's really really stupid. But and Mark Wahlberg it just doesn't play a very likable hero in that. Yeah, he does. He looks like a teenage Tatsu. See, we are officially 32 minutes in. Officially 32 minutes into. King Boxer. They had a better script, but went to a family friendly. Yeah, yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine that there was probably a better script somewhere along the way. But I mean, just even the actors couldn't really save it. You know, like Tim Roth and Helena Bonham Carter. I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't so much. I didn't find it terrible so much as just weird and very unnecessary. There wasn't much of a point to it. But I can't deny that it's visually more better than Battle. I can't deny that either, which is really weird. But I know it's true. It's true. I love this room that they're fighting in. And conveniently, they have a lot of those vases sitting up there, just waiting to be smashed to smashed to a billion pieces. Oh, look at that high flying, crouching tiger, hidden dragon shit. Oh, oh. Well, there goes Tatsu. uh. All right. There was one other thing. I think I pretty much covered everything in regards to Fat City earlier. I mean, remember, it's a 97-minute movie. But I think one thing I forgot to mention was some other interesting factoids here. Oh yeah, at the end, Stacy Keach, he actually does get knocked out. He actually does get knocked out, and when he hits the floor there. And John Huston originally wanted Bo Bridges, and instead he got Jeff Bridges. You know? Yeah, I forgot to mention that Stacy Keach was actually knocked out. That's the one thing I forgot to mention. The one big thing that I forgot to mention that I really wanted to. But as for King Boxer, the English dubbed version released through Warner Brothers was the film that launched the craze for kung fu movies in the United States. The anger siren sound used in this film comes from Quincy Jones's theme to the American TV series Ironside from 1967. Five Fingers of Death preceded the American kung fu TV series as the igniter of the karate craze that started up so many new schools across the USA. In the United States, it was released as Five Fingers of Death, with some rather funny translation in the dubbing to English. It is now being marketed on DVD as King Boxer, which was its original title in the Chinese. The King Boxer DVD is nice because it provides the English dub as well as the option to view the film in the original Chinese, and subtitles are available. But the real question, is it available on Blu-ray? I don't think it's on 4K, but it's available on Shawscope Volume 1 Blu-ray set, which includes King Boxer, the boxer from Shantung, Five Shaolin Masters, Shaolin Temple, Mighty Peking Man, Challenge of the Masters, Executioners from Shaolin, Chinatown Kid, The Five Venoms, Crippled Adventures, Heroes of the East, and Dirty Ho. Okay, so there's 12 movies. It's a Blu-ray set from Arrow. Came out just last December, and it's available for $100. But King Boxer is most definitely on that Blu-ray set, and it's pretty much the only way that you could order it on Blu-ray if you want it on physical media. I will not be getting the Shaw set, but I would imagine that if you are a fan of the Shaw Brothers films, that you would be a very, very happy person if you were to pick that Blu-ray set up, because it's probably the best the films have ever looked, and it probably has more in the extras than you ever could imagine. In fact, I'll even double check right now. Oh yeah, the extras have top marks, really top marks. The actual Blu-ray for King Boxer, it includes a commentary by David Desser, Tony Raines on King Boxer, which is a 43-minute interview featuring the always reliable Raines, discussing not just the film but also some history of the Shaw Brothers studio. Interview with Chang-hwa, 40 minutes, stems from 2003 and 2004 interviews conducted by Frederic Ambrosin. Interview with Wang Ping runs 26 minutes, stems from a 2007 interview conducted by Frederic Ambrosin. And interview with Cho Young-jung, which is 33 minutes. And Cinema Hong Kong Kung Fu, which is a 50-minute first in a three-part documentary on the Shaw Brothers' influence on the Kung Fu genre. This was produced by Celestial Pictures in 2003, and a trailer and image gallery. So you're going to get a lot for your money. I mean, and all these movies, all 12 of these movies, have quite a lot of bonus material. So I guess that $100 price tag sounds warranted. It really does. And we are coming up on the 40-minute mark. The 40-minute mark of King Boxer. So we have approximately an hour to go. Approximately an hour ago. But I told myself I was going to sit through this and fight through this. So the thing is, when I watch all the international films next month, here again, I mean, like the Italian films and all that stuff, I'm not so much concerned in terms of talking all the way through them as I am just showcasing my reaction for them. A lot of other commentaries, I'm more concerned about what I'm saying rather than what I'm absorbing. But yeah, I mean, with those international films next month, I mean, remember, I'm going to be probably watching and reacting more than commentating. But I still want to get at least like 50% commentary in. Oh, this is so romantic, isn't it? Oh, it's so, so romantic. Ah, man. And these assholes are at it again, I see. So, yeah, I mean, with those interviews, I mean, those are pretty substantial interviews in terms of individual bonus material. Oh yeah, I was talking about Battle. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, Brian. I thought you were in fact talking about Battle, but yeah, I just don't know why they decided to go that family friendly when they were really knocking on the door of like adult themes with that franchise. I tell you, some of the best action movies I've seen in the past few years are like the Indonesian films, the Raids. You know, the Raid and the Raid 2. Those are without a doubt some of the best action films that I've seen in the past like 5 or 6 years or so. Those films are just great. Still smoking his toothbrush. What's gonna happen? None of your business. Oh, you made him spit, dude. Why did you do that? Why the hell did you do that? Okay, time to rock and roll here. Oh, just a bunch of cowards. Okay. Whoa. Ouch. Oh, that was an interesting zoom back. Wow. Hmm. Like I said, one more time, I will say that I apologize. This is not a full commentary, but like I said, more of a first time reaction. Um, but at the same time, I think I still managed to get enough on here because I'll tell you, to me, the best commentaries are out there that are when the person gives out as much information as possible without uh, stopping to talk. Because the worst thing a commentary could go is go dead silent, if you ask me. And I try to, like I said, I try to have something to say for like every single scene. But this is going to be a case where, um, here again, I'm probably going to end up just watching the movie for the rest of the night. But I'll definitely try to throw a few more things in the mix here. Like I said, this is my introduction to the Shaw brother. Um, uh, yeah, this is my very first introduction to the land of the Shaw brothers. So, ah, I see a few concubines. Yeah, a few concubines hanging around here. I'm watching this on like I said, we're watching this on YouTube right now, and even though it has closed captioning, it doesn't have CCs for the actual lyrics. And like I said, I'm keeping the volume low too. Yeah, but the Blu-ray.com critic only gave it 3 stars. His final consensus for the film is if you're a martial arts fan, oh man, deal with that. Time for some tea, I think. Definitely time for tea. Definitely. If you're a martial arts film fan, you've seen a lot of the elements of King Box before. So this is not some radically innovative piece of filmmaking. That said, it's kind of relentless in its own way, with a kind of feral aspect that's often quite visceral. Technical merits are generally excellent, especially the video, and as usual with Arrow's releases, the supplements are outstanding for those who may be considering making a purchase. Yeah. But like I said, you can only get it as part of the Shaw Brothers franchise box set. That's the one thing. Hopefully, I won't fall asleep. And it's not even that the film is boring. It's just that, I've been preparing all day for Fat City, and that, now I'm just so tired and, trying to sit through King Boxer. But I really wanted to watch it. I really wanted to get it out of the way. So that's why this is going to be more of a first time and react rather than a second time and comment. I guess you could say. Hmm. I've actually been to Hong Kong before. I actually visited Hong Kong when I was in the military, when I was in the Navy. I went there several times, as a matter of fact. I remember I actually found the strip club where the man with the golden glove gun was filmed at, which they proudly boasted. The name of the club was called Bottoms Up, and they proudly boasted that the film production had shot there with like this giant sign and everything. Yeah, those were definitely the days. Now it's no longer around though. They did close it down about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, get him surrounded, just like John Wick. Oh boy. See, we are 51 minutes in. Yeah, so we're about roughly halfway through. Pretty much roughly halfway through. Hmm. Hmm. The IMDb score for this is 7.1. That's really strong. That's really, really strong. So the audience really does like it. Well, I love the music now, that's for sure. All right. Now to get down and dirty. Who'll be left standing? That is indeed the question. It's amazing I haven't seen more of these type of chopsocky movies in my life. But here again, that's part of the reason why I started these 50th anniversary commentaries, is so I can finally watch movies like this when I might have completely missed out on. Oh, he got two massive kicks to the face right there. Two massive kicks. Uh, Coming up here on the 55-minute mark. Oh. Oh, now it's getting brutal. Oh. Uh, I mean, the fight sequences in this movie are actually really well done, and I do like the music too. I do really like the music. I don't think this film was listed in the 50 films or the what is it, like the 1,000 films you're supposed to see before you die and everything. Because if this is the film that actually kicked off the kung fu craze of the early 70s, well, surely it deserves a spot in that, doesn't it? But I mean, it would be impossible for me to say if this is one of the best kung fu films I've ever seen. It would be pretty much impossible, at least right now. Would, because I would have to watch a hell of a lot more in the genre to actually come to a determination on that. I'm not even comfortable saying Enter the Dragon definitively, as I know there's a lot out there I haven't seen, and from what I understand, they're all really good. Here again, martial arts I don't have a ton of experience in. I actually have more experience with noir than I do with martial arts. And trust me to say, I'll be going right to bed right after this movie's over. Yeah, talking for 3.5 hours, you know. Yeah, we got approximately 45 minutes left here. Yeah, approximately 45 minutes left to go. Believe it or not, I'm actually fighting a little bit. I'm not going to sleep, but it's not the movie's fault. Trust me, it's not the movie's fault at all. Just doing my best to stay awake here. Admittedly, the movie is good enough that I don't feel compelled to actually just cut off the stream. Like I said, I do feel the need to watch this and get it out of the way. I really do. Oh, oh. Excuse me. I'm going to try to mute next time I got to do that. Like I said, I'm just tired. Matter of fact, I might even take an intermission here, but I'll be back for like the rest of the movie. I'll take like a 15 intermission and come back for the last half hour. Well, like I said, I've actually been to Hong Kong at least 2 or 3 times. Really nice place to visit. And like I said, I've been on both the Hong Kong side and the Kowloon side. Yeah. This film, I will say it deserves its place in film history. But then again, I mean, does it really distinguish itself from the other chopsocky karate martial arts films of the period? Or is this a case of like sweet, sweet, badass song compared to something like Shaft or Superfly? Which, by the way, I will be doing commentaries at the end of the month for Shaft and Superfly on the last Saturday night of the month. I will start out with Superfly and then do Shaft's Big Score, both from 1972. So those will be both be 50th anniversary commentaries. Hmm. See, this is the type of commentary I kind of wish I brought on board like a Hong Kong film expert fill in all these blanks because that's exactly what I need. But I am actually really enjoying this thus far. I just the rewatchability factor on this is questionable though at this point. Now, you know what? Is it just me or does he look a little bit like the protagonist of the Raid films? He kind of does. He kind of seriously does. Hmm. I gotta say, we are finally seeing some blood spurts here. Yeah, sorry guys, I needed to take a little break there. But we're going to watch the rest of this movie together. We got about 32 minutes left to go. Finally got to see some blood here. Some blood spurting among the fights and everything. Yeah. I mean, this movie must have just come out at the right place at the right time, to for this kung fu craze to really explode at the time. But does this film offer anything else beside that? I mean, yeah, I mean it's very well made. I can see why Quentin Tarantino likes it. But then again, this is not a film I don't think I'm ever going to return to again. But the action scenes are very good. Oh, they sliced open the sandbag. Oh my god. Yes, match is over. Time to retire. Hmm, indeed. Such a pity. Oh yes. Trying to think if there's anything else I can find to share with on this film because The information I have is unfortunately very limited. Oh, here we go. I found something I could talk about here. Den of Geek in September of 2017, written by Craig Lyons. King Boxer, the enduring legacy of a martial arts classic. Uh, Asian martial arts are now deeply embedded in Western pop culture, but this wasn't always the case. In fact, wasn't really until the early 1970s that they made the transition into the mainstream, thanks in no small part to the release of a film called King Boxer. Of course, nothing occurs in a vacuum. By the late 1960s, martial arts were already being taught more widely in the West. Bruce Lee had made waves with his role in the Green Hornet, although his martial arts films, while huge in Hong Kong, were yet to break the U.S. market. James Bond had a ninja encounter in 1967's You Only Live Twice. Kung Fu, the seminal ABC series starring David Carradine, hit television series across America in 1972. The West was primed and ready for Asian action, and King Boxer brought the ruckus. Oh, yes, indeed. Under the title Five Fingers of Death, it was the first Hong Kong martial arts film to receive widespread distribution in the United States, although its content may not seem unique. It was one of many martial arts films that the Shaw brothers made in 1972, and they've been producing similar output for years already. Chang Cheh's The One-Armed Swordsman was perhaps the major game changer in terms of content, steering the Shaws away from traditional wuxia towards more explicitly violent films. By 1972, they'd finessed the formula and were banging out extraordinarily high quality films. That year alone gave us Sacred Knives of Vengeance, Boxer from Shantung, The Water Margin, and Kung Fu Killers. So, what was so special about King Boxer? To some extent, Warner Brothers were testing the waters for the release of their own Enter the Dragon later in 1973 by distributing the King Boxer in the US. With its lurid retitling and marketing campaign, see one incredible onslaught after another. Pale before the forbidden ritual of the Iron Palm. The thrill-seeking grindhouse crowd was guaranteed that the film broke out in a major way, hitting number one on the U.S. box office and attracting an audience in a way outside the usual demographic. To try to understand the reasons retrospectively, it is a tricky task, but I think most roads lead to the conclusion that it's just a damn near perfect, no nonsense distillation of all the ingredients that make a great martial arts film. Maybe it's not the best film that the Shaws made during their golden years, but it's probably this author's personal favorite. Lo Lei plays Chow Chi Hao, a moderately skilled kung fu student who lives a happy life under the tutelage of his master. He's in love with the master's daughter Ying Ying, and everything is tranquil. The future looks bright and simple. However, when some thugs attack the village and the master finds himself too old to fight back, he insists Chow must learn greater martial arts skills, sends him off to the school of famous master Suen Sen Pei. To incentivize Chow, he says that if he learns enough to win the local martial arts tournament, he can have Ying Ying's hand in marriage. The film follows Chow's adventures and combines several of the classic martial arts narratives into one. There's the tournament plot. There's also the student teaching trading plot. There's the fish out of the water plot. That as Chow adjusts to life outside his sheltered upbringing. There's a rival schools plot, a la Fist of Fury, when Master Suen's school is targeted by the evil Meng Tun Sang's Ti Feng Paxing school. Eventually, it becomes a crippled master story in the vein of a successful Wang Yubu movies like One-Armed Swordsman. When Chow's hands are broken and he must find a new way to fight. Sounds like a lot to take in, but it still manages to be impressively streamlined and economical. Unlike many films of its type that focus on a single protagonist, King Boxer thrives on a rich ensemble of characters, most of whom feel strong and well developed enough to be heroes in their own right. Wang Gamfeng's opera singer Yen, whose unrequited love for Chow leads to tragedy, provides a romantic melodrama common to the genre, yet provides one of the deepest emotional arcs of the film. Likewise, Chen Lang Kim Ki-ju, the nomadic fallen hero who joins the Meng's troop of villains, has a more fleshed out narrative than is usual for a character with so little screen time. As with many Shaw productions, there's a Shakespearean influence in the structuring of the plot. When King Boxer reaches its final act, the resolution is dramatic and powerful. This provides a backbone for what the crowd came for, the fighting. Admittedly, director Chang-hwa keeps the action focused on what looks good on film rather than any elaborate displays of actual martial arts, but this stylish, high-energy approach works in the film's favor. The use of hidden trampolines as characters leap into the sky to deliver crushing blows is maybe a little excessive, but it's worth it when said blow land in gushing geysers of technicolor gore. In one climactic scene, a character gets his eyes ripped out by a man he's previously blinded. It's brutal, but it's shot so beautifully and suspensefully it almost feels like a scene from a giallo. The production scene especially shines in the scene, as does the lush wide-angle photography. I definitely agree with that, which was tragically wasted on the original VHS pan and scan release. It's one of several moments where the action becomes so grand guignol, it almost strays into horror territory, and that feeling is accentuated by the magical realism elements of the plot. In the movie's most iconic scenes, after Chow has mastered the iron palm technique, his hands glow a supernatural red, and he's able to deliver the infamous five-finger death punches. As someone who originally saw this on video, the author is astonished how gorgeous it all looks, restored and remastered. Still, even with so much competing for the viewer's attention, leading man literally holds it all together. His performance as Chow here is one of the best, and he's always been the author's personal favorite Golden Age Kung Fu film actor. He's so good in here, one of the very few traditionally heroic roles he ever played, that it seems strange he was so often cast as a villain. His journey from neophyte to champion is a familiar one, but Lee imbues the character with so much pain, pathos, and ultimately defiance that his triumph is a cathartic experience. He looks like such a badass, too. His iconic robes, glowing hands, and stone-faced stare combined for a look that burned itself indelibly into my brain the moment I first saw the VHS sleeve. So while it may seem like a disparate hodgepodge of tropes on paper, King Boxer actually makes a definitive time capsule of 70s Kung Fu by successfully mashing everything into one perfect story. It's been 45 years since it was made, and it remains as popular among genre fans as it's ever been. Its success meant that literally hundreds of Chinese, Taiwanese, and Korean grindhouse films in its wake tried to imitate its formula. 80s kids will recognize the golden hands from Barry Gordy's affectionate kung fu tribute, The Last Dragon. The dialogue has been sampled incessantly by the Wu-Tang Clan. In Kill Bill, Quentin Tarantino stole the blistering siren effect that appears whenever Chow uses the iron palm, not to mention stealing the 5-point palm of death itself. Edgar Wright claims it is a key influence on Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. The original comic book version of Iron Fist was inspired by King Boxer's legacy, though a far cry in tone connects King Boxer to 2017's Defenders. And a name I will not say has been attached to a remake of it since 2016, of course. As the Shaw brothers find their way via streaming services in the eyes of a whole new generation, you always find Kickboxer at the front of the range. Its rightful reputation as a must-see martial arts classic endures. Well, Den of Geek, we know what they feel about this movie, so absolutely. And I agree for the most part. I mean, here again, but it's not like here again, cup of tea, different tastes. This is not a film I'm going to return to. With all due respect to the movie and its reputation, it's very much deserved reputation for the classic that it is in some circles. But I'm not in one of those circles. So unfortunately, I will never see King Boxer again after this. But I did enjoy it for what I watched of it. Although, to be honest, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have included it tonight because maybe it wasn't the most ideal movie to put with Fat City. In fact, it probably would have been more appropriate to do the Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean with Paul Newman just because it was directed by John Huston. So we are at the 1 hour and 21 minute mark. So 20 minutes left to go. 20 minutes left to go on King Boxer. Yep, just about ready for the tournament here. Just about ready. Got approximately 18 minutes left to go. 18 minutes left to go until King Boxer is finished. Like I said, I appreciate everybody coming out and joining me tonight. Unfortunately, I think with King Boxer, I just couldn't make it through it. But you don't know how much I appreciate you guys' support and everything. Unfortunately, I don't think I should have done King Boxer. I think it was just a little bit too much for me tonight. But I did enjoy watching the film. I did, in fact, enjoy watching the movie. Sorry, I forgot about the camera. So anyway, before we cut off the commentary for tonight, wanted to mention my upcoming commentaries again. Tomorrow night, Sunday night, 5 Days, One Summer at 9 p.m. Eastern, directed by Fred Zinnemann, starring Sean Connery, followed by Lovesick, written and directed by Marshall Brickman, starring Dudley Moore and Elizabeth McGovern. Tuesday morning, 1 a.m., Police Academy, directed by Hugh Wilson, and Wednesday at 1 a.m., Police Academy 2, directed by Jerry Paris. Police Academy 2, The First Assignment. Yeah, that's indeed the name of that. And later in the month, we'll be doing others like Star 80 and The Right Stuff and Mike's Murder, stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to it too. And just to let anybody who does actually listen to this, but the Police Academy movies, I'll be perfectly honest, I am not going to be laughing once through either of those movies, but I do have to do them because they are Lad Company releases. See, hour and 26 minutes, so we're almost there. Almost there. 15 minutes. 15 minutes left to go. Now, like I said, I'm just tired, guys. I am just so friggin' tired. City, here we come. You know, that music is all too familiar. I know I've heard that music before. Yeah, I can definitely see the influence here. Hmm. Just about done here. Just about done. Oh, and we will actually be doing an animated film later this year, too, directed by the late John Cordy, called Twice Upon a Time. That is another Lad Company release that'll be done at the end of the month, pretty much right after I do Superfly and Shaft's big score. Oh, I just got stabbed. Oh, shit. Hip, hip, hooray. Okay. It seemed like when we had blood in this movie, yeah, there were blood spurts, but there wasn't necessarily buckets of blood in this thing. I mean, they did kind of use restraint, I thought. Well, I mean, I could definitely see why this is one of the considered one of the more important kung fu movies in the history of cinema. I can definitely see it. Yeah, I just don't see myself watching this again, just because I don't. I'd watch Fat City again for the cast and the writing, despite its rather troubled reputation now. Whereas this, while entertaining, and certainly it deserves kudos for everything it did for the genre, which, by the way, at that time was in its infancy. I mean, it's watchable. You will get enough out of this with the fight scenes and the act and the performances. But I didn't see much that was different here. I mean, obviously this is you know, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This movie feels like it deserves a spot in the thousand movies you've never seen before you die or whatever. But only because of the timing of the whole thing. But it is good. I mean, for a martial arts film, it's definitely good, and I did enjoy it. It's just not one I'm going to be returning to on a regular basis. And Fat City, I'll probably even return to that only 2 or 3 times. But look, I mean, the bonus material on the Blu-ray is amazing. So, you know. Okay, and he just got eye poked. Was that an homage to the Three Stooges or something? Anybody in the chat for future reference, but if you ever have a movie that you're interested in me tackling at some point and doing a full length audio commentary for, I know. I mean, I see the irony of this movie. I probably said the least amount I've ever said before, but look, I mean, I would say I'm being honest. I think a good 98% of my commentaries, I tend to talk every second. This is the rare instance where I only had a limited amount of words to say, and I finally all said it out loud after the first hour. So the rest of this is just kind of like, yeah. And here again, I didn't get to watch it beforehand, but the problem is though, even if I did watch it beforehand, I still wouldn't have had much more to say. But I do have nothing but respect for King Boxer, aka Five Fingers of Death. I have nothing but respect for it. I will say that, definitely. Let's see, we're rounding down here. Got about 8 minutes left to go. And then, like I said, we'll call it a night. Ugh. Good Lord. Oh, no. Oh, he's bleeding out now. Good Lord. Yeah, I wonder what watching this movie was like really in 1972. I wonder if had I been around, would I have been a fan of the kung fu genre because of this movie? I don't know. That's a question that's impossible to answer, but certainly one that's fun to speculate on. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed this. Don't get me wrong. I definitely did enjoy this. It's just, under the circumstances, I think I probably should have passed on doing a commentary for it. All I'm saying. Winding down here, last few minutes. Like I said, this stream is off as soon as the movie's over, which is only going to be a few more minutes. But yeah, Brian Trash and Briley Van Dyke, Planet Christian Hannah Horror, and Katrina. Love all you guys. Thank you so much for coming out tonight and for, you know, like I said, I really wish I would have brought a guest on for this one because this is, either brought on a guest or just not have done it. I should have rethought this. But I am glad I watched it. That's the bottom line. I am definitely glad I finally watched it. Well, here's a head for you. Okay. Okay. Oh shit! Is this going to be the final battle? This is going to be the the final battle to the death, where he finally employs his five fingers of death. Oh, I got it. That was a really long pause. That was definitely a really long pause there. Ugh. Okay. Ugh. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to go. Shit. Ah. Wow. Wow. Well, this movie's going to have a hell of an ending. I can see that right now. Oh, that was a pretty good jab to the head there. See, that's the thing, though, is that as much as I did enjoy this movie, it doesn't make me feel compelled to actually pick up the box set of Blu-rays or even to check out other Shaw Brother movies. Actually, I'll see. I mean, this is kind of a test run. Maybe in the future, if I come across another movie of this type, that I'd be able and willing to do it. I'm just saying, in this instance, I think I should have passed on doing this tonight. I really do think I should have. I mean, 102-minute movie, and I maybe got about 50 minutes of material in. But then again, if I can get half of a commentary with enough information in it, packed information on a half of a commentary, yeah, that would almost be good enough. But I prefer like 70 or 80 or 90%. Oh man, tired. And that is King Boxer, aka Five Fingers of Death. That's the conclusion to this Kung Fu classic. Another Shaw production. At any rate, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and you all have a great